Hello, and let's get to the thrust of it. Here we are at the beginning of the spinal 8. Congratulations, we've made it through the warm-up set and through the flavors, and so now you should have a cup and some tasty things inside of it. It's time to spread those tasty things or pour those tasty things through our spine so we nourish our nervous system. All sounds a bit magical, really, doesn't it? But how do we actually do it? Well, the first thing we need to do is we need to make sure the container is good. What does that mean? Well, as I said in the essay, as I wrote in the essay, that there are 5 components in the body. There's the rotation of the legs out, the rolling, the opening of the legs out. There's the honestly contracting your bottom. There is the pulling of the ribs down. So when you pull the ribs down, something happens in the arms. The body becomes more expansive, more generous. And then there is the squeezing of the leg bones together, so you don't take up too much space, but you take up the right amount of space. And then there is the thrusting of the pelvic floor forwards and up out from the body going, hello, I exist. All of those things, when put together, create this container, this shape into which we can then fold ourselves into. But before we fold ourselves into it, we need to make sure that the shape is good, which is why we're going to do thrust. Thrust, getting the thrust of it. The thrust of the spinal 8 is found in the thrusting of your pelvis forwards. So let's take a look at it. The hands come onto the hip bones, onto this part here, which in Taoism, or the Chinese call it the Kwa. Daimo calls it, my mate's teacher calls it the bikini line. I quite like that because it's where the leg meets the belly. The fold, because it kind of opens out and closes, so you've got 3 terms there: the Kwa, the fold, and the bikini line. Whichever one resonates with you, try and pay attention to it, say it out loud if you want to when you do this, because this is the part of the body we're really interested in. Everything leads down to this. This is like the opening of the bowl or the closing of the bowl. So we begin with the external rotation, just like we did, and ideally when we do that, something happens to our buttocks. Our buttocks naturally fire and our ribs will pull down. We want our ribs to pull down because when our ribs pull down, the back of our spine lengthens. And then we want to somehow pull our legs together because this contains the bowl a bit more, contains the energy of the pelvis a bit more. And then we do our best to work the pelvic floor to thrust through. We work the pelvic floor to thrust forward, so we get a rounded back, a tortoise back. Ideally, we're upright, and all of those 5 things concur simultaneously. Good word that came into my head then. So the thrusting forwards is the reason that the arms come backwards, because without taking the arms backwards, we end up falling over. So there's a natural balance in the body, something naturally occurring, that when we thrust forwards, the arms will correspondingly come back to stop us falling over. Now I want you to play with that edge. So the more you thrust forwards and the more you work your spine down and up and through between your legs, the more the arms are going to go backwards, the more the shoulders round, the more the ribs come down, the more the spine is lengthened. So that's the essence of thrust. I want you to really get in there. So it's not just hanging about here, it's can you rotate the leg bones so your glutes fire a bit more, so it pulls the ribs down more, so it squeezes the leg bones together, which allows you to bring the pelvic floor further forwards, because when you do that, the arms will go further backwards and you get more of a reach, more of a thrust. So once again, I tend to move my shoulders to roll my wrists as opposed to just rolling my wrists, because I want more and more activity up and around my head and neck, because I've got sticky parts in there, grumpy sticky parts. So the more I can move the fabric, the more the bones have a bit of freedom. And then thrusting forwards so far that you feel if you start to pull the arms underneath you, you'll fall over. So you really want to be pulling yourself into the floor. So the thrust takes the arms backwards and it pulls you down into the horseshoe. A bit like drawing a bowstring. There's a tension in there which feels utterly magical. This is thrust. Welcome to thrust. Welcome to the spinal 8. And I do hope you enjoyed this video. Until the next one, bye-bye.